時間又夠，人數都夠啦。
Members, it is the appointed time and we also have a quorum. Can I please call the meeting to order? Very happy that members are all here, so we do not have to abort the meeting. Item 1 on the agenda, confirmation of minutes of meeting. That's the minutes of meeting held on the 19th of November 2013. The minutes have been issued to members, and the clerk has not received any proposals for amendments. Members, can we please confirm the minutes? Thank you. Item 2 on the agenda, information papers issued since the last meeting. There are 2. 1, information on the financial position of the Applied Research Fund, and that's in paper CB1 578 13 to 14 bracket 01. And that has to do with the period from the June to August 2013. The second paper, the administration's paper on progress of negotiations under World Trade Organization. That's in paper CB 1691 bracket 01. And then we have a third paper. Ms. Anne Chang, the Deputy Chairman, wrote in on the 17th of January. She is asking for a discussion on the beauty industry. That's in paper CB 1761 bracket 01. The paper has been forwarded to the administration. Is it that we should wait for a written reply from the administration? Yes, we have asked for a written reply. Ms. Anne Chang, the Deputy Chairman, said in the paper that she would like to move a motion at this panel. If she should really do so afterwards, we'll then deal with it. Item 3 on the agenda, date of the next meeting and items for discussion. The regular meeting of February would be held on the 18th of February at Tuesday at 2:30 p.m. The proposed items for discussion are 1, review of Hong Kong Textiles Control System, and 2, improvements to the Innovation and Technology Fund to facilitate commercialization of R&D results and technology transfer to the industry. I'd like to ask members whether you have other views. If members have no particular comments, then we'll invite the administration team to come in now. Sorry, we still have item 4, matters arising. We forgot to mention it last time, and that is consideration of an overseas duty visit. We were quite late last time, and many members have left. Some members have proposed to conduct a duty visit, and the Secretariat has helped us look at the relevant places in which we have expressed interest, and that is South Korea, Israel, and Belgium, and how they have developed their innovative and technology industries. Mr. Chow, our research division colleague, is here. So, Mr. Chow, can I give you some time to introduce the paper? I think you have worked quite hard on this paper, but last time members have more or less left, but now we'll deal with it at the beginning, so you can introduce to us the paper. Yes, we have prepared information on the INT industry in South Korea, Israel, and Belgium. Now I can give you the gist of what they have done in South Korea. Starting from the 1960s, South Korea started to develop science and technology. It began to import, and then starting from the 1980s, they started with industrial policy to technology development, and then now South Korea has become one of the most important science hubs in the world. We can look at the GDP ratio spent on INT. In 2011, it reached 4.03%, or ranking 6th in the whole wide world. According to the World Ranking for Innovation, South Korea ranks 18. And there are some special characteristics for South Korea. For example, in terms of policy and financial resources, there will be a lot of support from the government, and then the business sector also takes a leading role. For example, infrastructure development, including broadband and wireless penetration. There is a high penetration rate, and the main industries for them include biomedics. And as for Israel, it lacks natural resources, and it is also under the threat of war all the time. This is Israel, and so it has to maintain its edge in terms of INT. The development is concentrated in an area nicknamed Silicon Vide, and we can see that it ranks 14 in the world ranking. And in terms of particular areas, it ranks first actually in 3 places. And compared to the GDP, the ratio is 4.3%. And their funds and also innovation or incubation funds play a very important role for INT development in Israel. And also the labor force having received tertiary institutions is also high, and also there is the stationing of a lot of multi-international companies stationed in Israel. It includes aeronautics and also nanomatics, etc. Last but not least, Belgium. Belgium does not have a national strategy, but then there are 3 federal areas where the particular economic situation is considered in order to write up strategies. And this is also in line with the projects that have been set down by Europe 2020. In other words, by allocating 3% of their GDP to R&D projects. And now the GDP ratio is 2.04, and in terms of innovation ranking, it is the lowest amongst the 3 places. However, Belgium has also got a competitive edge. For example, the government and the business community always promote INT development. For example, the government may provide tax breaks to start-up companies to do R&D. And also, private companies involved in the same business will set up research centers together in order to do R&D for the relevant industry. And also there are many incubation funds in the business sector to provide resources for such companies. And they deal with diamonds, pharmaceuticals, biotechnology, and renewable energy. This is what we have found out about the 3 places at the research division. Thank you very much, Mr. Chow. The consul of Israel contacted me. He said that he would welcome a delegation from the Hong Kong Legislative Council to Israel. Ms. Emily Lau, Chairman. I'd like to ask our research officer, looking at other people's experience and what is happening in Hong Kong, the development of intellectual property protection, does that have any bearing on INT? Last time we had the ESC meeting, and the Intellectual Property Development Department came to ask for creation of posts. And we also read out this particular report to say that that has a great bearing on the development of INT in Hong Kong. Recently, I was talking to university academics, and they mentioned the same point. I don't know whether our research division has looked into this as well. The 2 should go hand in hand. In other words, people have been able to do this in other places, but if we cannot do the same in Hong Kong, then there is no question of us following other people's example. After the ESC, I talked to the SG, where intellectual property and INT are under the purview of 2 different permanent secretaries or deputy secretaries. So can our research division throw light on this point? Mr. Chow, at the moment I do not have information in this area. Okay, I think first of all we need to decide which place we want to go. First of all, let us see whether we want to conduct a study visit? If yes, which out of these 3 places do we want to go? Then the research division can look further into that particular place. As Ms. Emily Lau was saying, whether intellectual property and INT development should be studied together. Mr. Sin Chung Kai, Chairman, Israel was mentioned by me. But looking at the 3 places, I would still say Israel is the best. Well, it's another matter whether we can really do what other people are doing. 6 to 7 years ago, I led an ITB panel delegation to South Korea myself. But yes, we can go there and see if there have been changes. But in terms of knowledge, we have been to South Korea. I would say that we have never been to Israel, so we have been to South Korea under the name of the ITB panel and also the Environment Affairs panel. I would say that Israel has the best developments in terms of IT, both in depth and in width. Next one, Dr. Lai-wan. Chairman, last week, together with Mr. Charles Mock, we received a professor from Israel, from the Israel Institute of Technology. He was the VP. He introduced to us the special characteristics in terms of science and technology research. Israel does put in a lot of resources, and also they do a military science research as well. And he has been able to introduce to us the commercialization of science research results. It is a comparatively small country, but it now occupies a place in the important science and development countries. If we were to go to a particular country, I believe it is worth our while to go to Israel. Many members may have been to South Korea under different names. We have been there to look at their environment, industry, and also waste management. So if we were to make a choice, I think Israel should be it. Thank you. Ms. Anne Chang. Thank you, Chairman. I agree. I think it is worth our while to go to Israel. Israel has a marginally bigger population compared to Hong Kong, maybe not up to 8 million, but it has made huge contribution to science and technology research. Perhaps later there will be a technology bureau in Hong Kong, so I think we should go there and seek some understanding into the issue. In Israel, they have the laws to encourage the development of science and technology. I think we can take a look to see how Israel has been so successful in encouraging businesses to develop in this direction. Okay, so it seems members have indicated their preference for Israel. So, Mr. Chow, can we trouble you to do a more in-depth study on Israel and come up with a plan for our visit, for example, what we should look at and the timetable, etc. Please give us the information next time, plus what Ms. Emily Lau said just now, and that is how intellectual property protection is linked with science and technology development. I'd like to remind members that under Rule 22(5) and also 29A of the House Rules, we must seek the approval of the House Committee and also our President's approval before we can conduct a study visit outside Hong Kong. We will seek that kind of approval later. Ms. Anne Chang, actually I raised my hand when we were on item 3, but you did not see me. I was talking about the list of outstanding items. As you said just now, I wrote in to ask about the development of the beauty industry.
Perhaps we can deal with my motion later on, and the chairman can consider when you want to deal with it, perhaps before the end of the meeting. Shall we then do that exactly till the end of the meeting? Very good. Now, for the development of this industry, in October of 2012, and that's over 1 year ago, I have requested that this panel discuss this particular industry and its long-term development. And Mr. Chung Kwok-ban, in 2012, also over a year ago, he has also raised that for fashion industry that we should also discuss that. Now, Mr. Chairman, we do not have the dates yet, but on the other hand, we have been waiting for over a year. Can we have a meeting whereby we will focus on these two industries in their promotion and development? Can we set a date as early as possible? Because I do see that there are other issues which have come into the agenda in front of us in the future meetings. And if that is the case, and we'll have even longer to wait, Mr. Chairman, can you set a date, please? Yes. In that case, perhaps we'll look at the agenda for the coming meetings, and then we will see when we can insert these two issues. And I also am very anxious that we discuss these early. So are you saying that the other issues will take precedence? No, actually, the Secretariat would look at the February meetings, of March meetings, and we will look for possible intervals where we can insert and include these issues for discussion in our meetings. Any other views, please? As much as possible within the year, please, Mr. Chairman. Absolutely. Yes. Now let us go on to the next agenda item, and that is a briefing on relevant policy initiatives featuring in the Chief Executive's 2014 policy address. Shall we ask the administration to join us, please? First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Greg So and Mr. Tam Chi-yun, and also all the officers and staff coming to this meeting today. We have a number of representatives from the administration. I will not go through the name list one by one. Yes, Mr. Greg So, can you please bring us through the paper, and then we will ask Mr. Tam to speak. Yes, actually, the paper had already laid out all the major initiatives in the policy address. First of all, concerning economic and trade relations with overseas countries. The ASEAN countries in March of 2013, we have already entered into bilateral free trade agreement to strengthen our trade and economic partnership. And at the beginning of this year, we will be commencing the formal negotiations. And this will provide us with Hong Kong with even better opportunities in entering the market of ASEAN, and also in the area of protection of investment. We are enhancing new opportunities for our businesses and boost economic growth for the longer term. And in June of 2013, Hong Kong, together with Bahrain and Myanmar, have entered into agreements, and there will be two trade agreements signed, and we will continue with the efforts in Russia, and we will further the discussions, and we believe that we will, in the early 2014 time, start the discussions with Chile on the international trade in agreements. In terms of development of the economy, we know that the economic growth is shifting globally to Asia. With these new opportunities, we will be considering new ETOs in the Asian region to help Hong Kong businessmen in developing these markets. As for the Economic Development Commission, in the last policy address, the CE had announced that he would establish the Economic Development Commission, and in particular, there will be a number of areas, including convention exhibition industries and tourism, manufacturing industry, innovative technology and cultural and creative industries, and the Working Group on Professional Services, which have all come into full operation. The EDC has formulated the overall work direction and discussed a number of important issues. And the work groups have drawn up their respective working plans. And in particular, in terms of working group of convention, exhibition, industries and tourism under the EDC, they have launched a consultancy study in early 2014 to glean the views on convention and exhibition and tourism needs, and also to meet the needs and demands from the region. For Mainland and Hong Kong Close Economic Partnership Arrangement, CEPA, we are working with the CPG, the Central People's Government, in deepening and broadening the CEPA, so that through CEPA we will be able to liberalize the trade and services between the two lands. The government is very much emphasizes the implementation of CEPA, and we have in Guangzhou and in Shanghai, we have had convened meetings so as to promote and to explain the stipulations under CEPA. On the other hand, for the supporting Hong Kong enterprises in the mainland, we have dedicated fund on branding, upgrading, and domestic sales to the tune of 1 billion Hong Kong dollars, so as to promote Hong Kong enterprises in all sectors in the development in the mainland in the various areas as discussed. And also, we have the Enterprise Support Program, an organization support program to support Hong Kong companies. And at the same time, the TDC will extend the Hong Kong network in the mainland in particular for SME and the network in the mainland. And we will also, through the TID and our offices in the mainland, continue to regularly disseminate information concerning our Hong Kong enterprises, and also to promote the extension of marketing, raise their overall competitiveness, and also to provide branding support for them. And further, for the other markets such as Taiwan, we will continue to attract these enterprises to come to Hong Kong to extend their businesses, and also we will be building a platform for going out for PRC investments into the international arena. In terms of IP protection, we have completely overhauled and reviewed the IP policy, and the Chinese, that is the PRC, Patent Protection Office, and also in our authorities in Hong Kong for IP protection in terms of legislation and also in training, we have already set out our work, and in 2016 we will be starting our new system on original IP authorization. So this will be part of our overall IP policy. So this is, and for this year, we will be going deeply into the various policies and come up with new measures for innovation and IP protection. And we will continue to, for parody works, we will continue to follow on the works that we have started last year in our consultation, so that we will have legislation, and according to the progress of work, we will continue with our legislative efforts. And also in the digital field as well, we will be pushing forward our legislative efforts. In terms of innovation, we have already reviewed the work of the 15-year-old Innovation Support Fund. And in terms of financial support, we will continue with the efforts of commercialization and research and R&D for Hong Kong companies, and we'll be working closer with the central governments. And also for the third phase of the Science Park, we will be completing that in phases, starting this year all the way to 2016. And the Yuen Long Industrial Park consultancy report had already been completed, and the feasibility study had been underway, and this area will be zoned as a special industrial zone. And also the government will be working with the Science Park Corporation to come up with a long-term usage of the area. And as mentioned in the policy address for the work of our Bureau, we will come up with new efforts in meeting the expectations and demands of the professionals in the field so as to complete and to augment and to improve on the work of our department. Thank you very much, Mr. So. Mr. Tan, please. Yes, Mr. Chair. Today at this meeting, I would like to go through some of the policy initiatives of Constitutional and Mainland Affairs Bureau in relation to the mainland and Taiwan cooperation. In the 2014 policy address, it had already been mentioned that in the mainland there will be more representative offices established so as to promote the cooperation between the mainland and Hong Kong. In the northern part of the region, northern region of the mainland, we will be establishing liaison offices to strengthen the work, and this will be in Liaoning, Shenyang, so as to help Hong Kong people in their efforts and businesses in the northern regions, and also in the eastern region as well. After the establishment of the Wuhan office, there had been certain changes. We will be choosing the sites for the liaison offices in the eastern region. And also, after the Wuhan office had been established in the central region, we will also be choosing sites for the establishment of such offices. And also, we are looking for suitable talents to fill the positions in the Wuhan office, and in the second quarter, we will be coming onto stream with our services. As for the 12th five-year plan of the country, there have been a series of policies, and the China-Hong Kong Economic and Cooperation Office, they have been looking into the implementation of the policies that are applicable to Hong Kong from the 12th five-year plan. And in the formulation of the 13th five-year plan, the relevant departments and the bureaus are coming up with the relevant topics after consultation with the various committees and the Hong Kong people. They will be forwarding those proposals to the central government for consideration and inclusion. And Mr. Zhu Xiaodan and our chief executive, Mr. C.Y. Leung, that is the governor of Guangdong province, co-chaired the 16th plenary Hong Kong GDC JC in Hong Kong September last year. And there were 18 items of cooperation. The overall progress is satisfactory. And also this year, we will be, for Guangdong-Hong Kong Cooperation 2014 Work Plan, we will be extending a number of areas. For example, we will be extended to Nansha and Hengqian, the RMB loans and lending cross-border arrangement, and we will continue to promote the developments therein. And also in terms of smuggling activities, we will step up our cooperation with Zhuhai area, so that as the bridge Guangdong, Hong Kong and Macau is completed, we will continue to step up our cooperation with Nansha, Hengqian and Qianhai to facilitate the business of the Hong Kong people. And also in October of last year, there was a committee set up, the Hong Kong Guangzhou Cooperation Working Group, and there had been 3 working committees under that. to promote liberalization of trade and investment, and also the opening up of professional service, and further in terms of youth working opportunities in the mainland. And at the same time, for Taiwan, we have set up the ECCPC and the Taiwan-Hong Kong Economic and Cultural Cooperation Council platform.
In the past year, the Export Credit Insurance and Academic Qualification Accreditation Authorities have signed agreements in order to increase our cooperation. 3 bureau secretaries have also led delegations to Taiwan to study their environmental protection facilities, revitalized historical buildings, and also port development. And also, we will continue to go through our Hong Kong ETCO in order to organize activities to allow Taiwan people to understand Hong Kong's development and our unique culture. We will continue to work in the spirit of mutual cooperation, mutual benefit, and also pragmatism in order to increase our cooperation with Taiwan at different levels. Thank you very much, Mr. Tam. Now it's time for members to ask questions. I'd like to remind members that if you ask questions, please concentrate on the areas within the jurisdiction of our CIP, including business, industry, IT, IP protection, and promotion of inbound investment. Many members have indicated their interest to speak. I would say that each would have 4 minutes for now, including a reply. Mr. Wong Kwok-hing. Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, through you, I'd like to ask 2 questions. The first one, the original grant patent system legislation. I remember last year, on the same occasion as today, I have already thanked the Secretary for accepting our proposal to promote original grant patent. You have already set the target as 2016-17 to introduce that system. However, you have not told us about the legislative timetable. You have not told us whether you would start the legislative work within this year. If not, then by 2016-17, are we going to be able to implement the original grant patent scheme? Number 2, the Hong Kong Science Park. Chairman, earlier on you led us on a visit to the Hong Kong Science Park. Now, on this occasion, I'd like to say that I would really like to compliment the achievements of the Hong Kong Science Park, which is so encouraging. I'm speaking from my heart now, and I'd like to ask the administration this. I have seen from your tendering exercise for Phase 3 that indeed the response has been very enthusiastic. And I understand that right next to Phase 3, there is also a big piece of land. Would you also try to secure it to build Phase 4 of the Science Park instead of having it to be used for residential or luxury apartment development? I think that would be beneficial for the future development of the Science Park. Could you please give it favorable consideration? And in fact, when I was there, I was told that the Science Park was giving a lot of help to innovation companies. I can remember a percentage. The success rate was 60%. In other words, these companies were able to start their business. If I'm wrong, I stand to be corrected by Ms. Janet Wong. I could really see that the Science Park was doing a good job in helping startup companies. Mr. So, thank you, Chairman. The first question, original grant patent system. I'd like to thank Mr. Wong for supporting us, and in fact we are working at full steam within the Bureau. But to put in place that system, we need to do a lot of infrastructural work. We are building up the work processes. The SIPO would have to cooperate with us, and on the 6th of October last year we have already signed a cooperation agreement with SIPO, and in fact a lot of the detailed cooperation arrangements are being threshed out. We need to combine our data bank and also put in resources from both sides. And also we have to review our own legislative and administrative frameworks to see how we can introduce that system, and then for us to be able to carry forward that system. We are now looking into that and also doing preparatory work. And at the same time, we are going to start our legislative work as soon as possible, and in due course we'll revert to the panel to report to members so that this will be discussed in the Legislative Council. As for the second point, may I defer to Ms. Janet Wong? Ms. Wong, thank you. I thank Mr. Wong for his question. In fact, we have looked into securing the land next to Phase 3 of Science Park. But as you know, there is a keen demand for land in Hong Kong. Last year, the CE asked all government departments to take stock of land in our hands to see whether the land is needed urgently for development. It is our view that it would be best for us to be able to get the piece of land next to Phase 3 of Science Park, but we have no urgent need for it. The first reason is that Phase 3 of Science Park has just seen the first securing of tenants, and in fact, part of Phase 3 will be completed only in 2016. Therefore, we can still wait. And what is more important is that there is this recent development. The Science Park has been in operation for over 10 years, and now we are doing a major review of its operation. And this would include the land resources in our hands. Say, for example, within the Science Park, there is still vacant space, and also the plot ratio at Science Park and the industrial estates. If we have new policy proposals, we will be able to meet future demand. Just one word, Chairman. If you do not get the land next to Phase 3, I don't think you will have any opportunity to do so later on. Mr. Wong Ting Kwong, thank you. From Paras 38 to 42 of the PA, there is a coverage on land-tile development. In Para 41, it says that you will build an East Lantau metropolis for accommodating new population, and it will become a core business district in addition to Central and Kowloon East for promoting economic development and providing job opportunities. And in Mr. So and Mr. Tam's introductory remarks, I am disappointed that this point has not been mentioned. I think Lantau will be a new flashpoint for Hong Kong's economic development. It is going to be an important base. After the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge is completed, it will be the place for building bridgehead economy. And how come none of the bureaus have mentioned this in your opening remarks? Now, Lantau should be for the medium term, but in the short term, we are talking about the south of Lok Ma Chau, that there should be a commercial and shopping hub. I have seen such reports in the media after the PA was presented. If in the short term you can set up a commercial and shopping hub in Lok Ma Chau, then we can stream some of the shoppers from the mainland away from the urban area, so there will be less conflict between mainlanders and Hong Kong people in the busy urban area. What is your thinking in this direction? Mr. So, 2 questions. Thank you very much, Mr. Wong Ting Kwong, for your questions. And I thank Mr. Wong Ting Kwong for showing interest in Lantau development all these years. This is also our policy direction. Mr. Wang has correctly pointed out that indeed in the policy address, there is quite some coverage on lantau development. And also in para 42 of the PA, actually last week the Secretary for Development had already introduced the establishment of the Lantau Development Advisory Committee. The Development Bureau has already said that it will work together with relevant bureaus in order to develop the East Lantau metropolis. In this regard, we will proactively cooperate with the Development Bureau, so we can also do our part. Mr. Wang, you will know that in terms of tourism and business development, we have already taken forward a few infrastructural projects on Lantau. We have a very good cooperative relationship, and we are confident that we can work together to develop the East Lantau metropolis. And also, Mr. Wang, at the council, we discussed the building of a commercial hub near the boundary, so we can create some tourist spots and also some shopping experience near the border. We have taken an initial look. In fact, a lot of the land is privately owned, and we do encourage private businessmen to develop the area, and we can certainly work with them. Just one word, Chairman. You talk about private land and you encourage the development of private land, but I hope you won't only provide lip service. The relevant departments should help promote the development of such a hub. Next, Mr. Chong Kwok Pan. Thank you. Sorry. Thank you, Chairman. According to my name list, we have Chong Kwok Pan, Sin Chong Kai, Wai Chi, and then a few more members, ending with Mr. Chow Smok, Mr. Chong Kwok Pan. Chairman, in the PA, now of course, the administration talks about encouraging tertiary industries, including financial, monetary, businesses, etc. It also mentions agriculture, which is a primary industry, but you have forgotten about the secondary industries, including manufacturing. Have you really abandoned the industries? You asked a question at the Q&A session, and you talked about the two-tin rule, and you have mentioned that in fact Hong Kong brands are very attractive to mainlanders. So shouldn't we encourage the manufacture of more products in Hong Kong so we can export them to the mainland market? In para 10 of Mr. So's speech, talking about CEPA, you say you are drawing up the supplemental agreements so Hong Kong products can have a smoother access to the mainland market. But the question is, CEPA is also about the manufacture of Hong Kong products. So do you think that we should promote Hong Kong products, but at the same time, you do not provide any support for industries? If nothing is manufactured in Hong Kong, why do we need CEPA? Mr. So. Actually, Mr. Chung knows very well that CEPA provides zero tariff for Hong Kong goods to go into the mainland. That is a very big concession at the EDC under the relevant working group. The Working Group on Manufacturing Industries, Innovation Technology and Cultural and Creative Industries, we have heard stakeholders speak their mind. Now, of course, some people have mentioned high value-added industries, which should be given the space to develop in Hong Kong. But if it is labor-intensive, low value-added, and high energy consuming, then perhaps these are not really suited for development in Hong Kong. And we are looking into that in that working group. We welcome high value-added industries coming back to Hong Kong. I believe that working group will look into that further and will also give us proposals. Mr. Chairman, it's still the same thing. Well, you have not mentioned it in the PA, but it doesn't mean that you are not going to do it, right? So I'm talking about your support for the manufacturing industries. I really hope you will take a closer look. In fact, we are not just talking about the traditional industries, agriculture and fisheries, that is a traditional industry, and you are talking about giving it support. But the manufacturing industry is not just traditional. We are manufacturing clocks and watches and also fashion. Those are highly value-added industries. So the administration should take a closer look to see how we can expand the structure of our industries. Don't just look at primary and tertiary and forget about the secondary industries.
For industrial development in Hong Kong, in terms of resources and cost of production, I believe the business sector will certainly consider those, and also in terms of land resources as well. They will have to calculate their costs. And our measures in terms of the science park, etc., are all there with the intention of supporting the industries in Hong Kong in development, the manufacturing industry and other industries. Yes, we will continue to listen to views from the relevant sectors concerning this. Mr. Sin Tong Kai, please. Mr. Chair, concerning the policy address and also paper 749, there is very scant mention of tourism. You have mentioned in your paper that you will assess the impact of tourism in Hong Kong, and also you project that there will be 70 million tourists coming into Hong Kong, and after that there's another figure of some 100 million. Now, in the past, there has been some 10% increase in tourists' entry into Hong Kong. The Bureau believes, or the Secretary believes, that there will be a slackening of that growth. But the tourists have been overwhelming in Hong Kong, and it seems that the Chief Executive said that there will be something done in that regard. But on the other hand, the tourists from the mainland and overseas coming into Hong Kong are still presenting a pressure on Hong Kong. And I do not see in your paper, yes, you have done the assessment, but how do you alleviate the pressure created by the tourists? Well, in the industry, there have been voices about establishing a border shopping area and others. I do not see that mentioned here. So does it mean that in the 3-4 years coming that the tourists will keep pouring into Hong Kong? Does it mean that they will have to be staying in these unlicensed guest houses and subdivided flats, and there would be fire hazards, etc.? Would we have to face all those continuously in the coming years? Are there any measures which will alleviate the pressure created by tourism, such as increasing tourist sites? This is very strange. In fact, all over the world, people are trying to attract more tourism, but our government seems to have an issue concerning the alleviating of pressure created by tourism. Perhaps the Secretary would have certain thoughts on that. Thank you very much for the question, Mr. Sin. Indeed, in the paper, we do not have the item of tourism. But this is in Economic and Development Commission. There is a working group under the EDC, and on Monday, there will be a meeting on this exact topic. Now, thank you very much for the question. If we look at the 17th, the report coming out on the 17th last week, especially in the conclusion, you would see that the assessment is that by 2017 there will be 70 million tourists coming into Hong Kong, and there are three main areas of work where we can have more healthy development in our tourism. First of all, in the how we can sustain that kind of size of tourism, for example, in the flow and of tourists, in traffic, in increasing tourist attraction sites. And in fact, we have at this panel meeting in the past talked about the enhancement of those facilities and measures. And also, we are to attract more high value-added tourists into Hong Kong. We are to attract them proactively to come to Hong Kong. And also, tourists are focused and concentrated in certain areas in Hong Kong, including the shopping areas and the sightseeing areas. We will try to somehow disperse and alleviate the pressure of tourists visiting in those areas. But most importantly, I would also want to point out that as tourists increase in Hong Kong, it would impact the livelihood of Hong Kong people. We would, on the one hand, balance economic development as well as the everyday life of the Hong Kong people. Mr. Lai-wan, please. Mr. Chairman, the policy address concerning economic development policies, there are two main points there. One is to restart the Innovation and Technology Commission. Perhaps this is not really a restarting because there was a Science and Communication Technology Bureau which was supposed to be established, but it never got established. Well, myself and my associates believe that this commission is very important, Commission for Innovation and Technology. Innovation technology being very important in the economic development going forward. And also, there are efforts in coming up with the specific work under this commission. I would allow time for the Secretary to tell us about the timetable, because for any financial outlay, you will have to come to the LegCo, and there will be procedures that you have to follow. Perhaps today would be a good opportunity concerning the setting up of this commission. Will it be, let's say, set up within this year, this LegCo year? If we extend beyond the summer and the summer holidays, it would leave us very little time for its development. And we fear that there may be major social issues or issues concerning the livelihood of the Hong Kong people, which may distract from that effort of ours. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and I thank Mr. Low in his support for the establishment of this Innovation and Technology Commission. And I also note other members of the LegCo giving me their support in the establishment of this commission. Yes, indeed, for the work of the Innovation Commission and also the work of the existing communication technology promotion efforts under the Hong Kong government, we would like to consolidate such innovation and technology-related work under this commission. And I also know that expectations are very high in this area of our economy. So I would like to see, with a commission established and with a new commissioner, we would be able to answer many of the demands and needs of the sector in terms of technology and innovation. As for timetable, we are in active preparation of the same. For example, in the staffing of this new commission and also some of the detailed work, we are in active preparation in our bureau. Unfortunately, I do not have a specific timetable for you at this point, but I can tell you that we are definitely working full steam ahead in the preparation of the establishment of this commission. And certainly we do too want to be able to set it up as soon as possible, and the new incoming commissioner will have more time to establish and also to push forward the work of innovation and technology. Mr. Chairman, perhaps shall we put it this way? In order to get the green light from the LegCo, can we, in the setting up of the Commission, can you tell us perhaps some specific dates? Will it be before the summer, for instance? Well, I hope, Mr. Chairman, that this green light will be given us, and with the help and efforts of all the members, I hope that this process will not be unduly long. Yes, let us work together in promoting this work, and I hope to have a very smooth going at the LegCo when we come to you, and we appreciate your support. Well, will it be before this summer, when the proposal actually comes to the LegCo? Mr. Chair, I just want to say that it will be very soon. I do not have a specific timetable. Now, Kin Fong, please. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I noticed certain data recently concerning certain industrialists in Hong Kong, whether it be in toy, in garment. They have chosen to close down. Some have chosen to move to the mainland, and from the mainland they have moved on to other manufacturing sites with lower costs. If you're talking about moving back to Hong Kong, their production sites, it would be unlikely. But the factories and the production plants which are still in Hong Kong, they are of high quality and they are sentimental towards Hong Kong. So I would say that in terms of science and technology and innovation, we should provide more help to these industrialists. So we are very much in support of this Innovation and Technology Commission. The proposal concerning the Commission and the proposals before, even though the commissions are different in name, would the content be more or less the same? Mr. Lower Kwok had asked a question about the timetable, but I would urge you to listen to more views, not only in the science and technology field, but also among the industrialists, because all these are interrelated. Further to that, you have mentioned time and again, and I have raised the same opinion, and that is you have more trade officers and support and liaison officers in the mainland and outside of Hong Kong and China, because we do need industrialists, do need support, and we need people who speak the same language, have the same wavelength in these areas that we want to go into. And for these officers, perhaps you name them desks, right? I think the more the better for these liaison points or desks. I have a question. Mr. Leung, do you have the energy, do you have the resources and the capabilities to complete that work in the near term? Mr. Chair, if I can respond to the first question concerning innovation and Technology Commission. For this new commission, it is really, its work surrounds innovation and technology. And the two original departments work and folded into this new commission. And the difference in terms of the content of work is that yes, we are moving the entire office into this new commission, and in the original proposal, the broadcast and communications was to be folded in as well. But no, in this new proposal, broadcast and communications will be left in its original regime and structure. We would want to allow more space for development for innovation and technology instead. So this will be an exclusive commission and for this particular area of work. And also, we have an effort to promote and support high and new technology and high value-added industries. And yes, I will listen to the industrial sector as well, because it is interrelated, as mentioned just now. We are not only talking about manufacturing, we are talking about industries. It would include branding, market promotion, and also manufacturing as well. So we will be talking very closely with the sector to see how we can do that area of support work even better. And at the same time, for economic and trade officers, ETOs, we will be looking for another location in the Asian region. We do not have the location just yet and the timetable, but as soon as we do, we will come back to you and we will work together. As for the mainland officers, perhaps I would ask Mr. Tam for his views. Mr. Tam, very succinctly, please. Yes, in the second quarter, when we established the Wuhan office, we would have completed the North, East, South, and West, and the Central.
Yeah.
Our plan is to have at least one liaison unit under every ETO, and as I said at the BJO, the Beijing office, would like to have one in Shenyang, and then we will also look for one in the central region and also in the eastern region. The most important thing is to see whether that place has any potential for development and also is infrastructure and transport complement, and whether Hong Kong people are investing in that place and whether there is a strong desire for Hong Kong people to invest in that place. We'll make a decision basing on all those factors. We'll continue to use that two-tier system, and that is under every ETO there will be a liaison unit, so we can flexibly make use of our resources to help Hong Kong people who conduct business on the mainland. Thank you very much, Mr. Tam. Next, Mr. Ma Fung Kwok. Thank you, Chairman. I have a few questions. The first one, the Innovation and Technology Bureau. I do support wholeheartedly the setup of the Bureau, but I beg to differ from what the SCED said. I think there was no consideration of importance or otherwise of a Bureau. It should only differ in size. If it's not important, how come you are setting it up? And you have to tell us your thinking about innovation and technology, and then you should find somebody who is suited to the post. I think you should decide what this person should do before you look for the personnel. This is the first point. Second point. Paras 9 and 10 on CEPA, you say that you would like to create more opportunities for the businesses. I'd like to mention the publishing industry, which has said that it would like to secure more space for development through CEPA. They have been talking about that for a few years. In fact, we have made a lot of investments on the mainland, but then there is still a lot of restriction on publishing. Can you help them fight for something? For example, can you allow Hong Kong publishers to publish certain mainland productions, and whether the vetting process can be simplified and relaxed? You have not given any response, whether you're going to do it or what you have done. And then another point. Last year in the CEPA supplemental agreement, it is said that we can make use of the original Cantonese soundtrack to distribute Hong Kong films on the mainland, and I like to know progress. And also, I have always been saying that hopefully the Hong Kong ETOs on the mainland should also take on another function, in other words, a cultural aspect. I understand that in our office in Taipei, it has that function, but I think that's by far the one and only one with that function. So I hope that where appropriate, you can also set up a cultural office on the mainland. I don't know whether you can respond to all these. Mr. So, yes, about the Innovation and Technology Bureau, I agree that all bureaus are important, but you were asking, actually a member was asking how this one would be different from the last one. I was saying that this one will be a little smaller in size because we think innovation and technology are important. That is why we allowed the Bureau to just concentrate on that. And of course, I'm sure the CE will very carefully pick the right personnel to be the Bureau Secretary. In terms of publishing and CEPA, from what I know, we are working very hard in order to look for opportunities for the publishing industry on the mainland. Today, Jerry, the Create Hong Kong director, is not here because this should better be taken up at the ITB panel. Maybe the director of the Create Hong Kong office can introduce this more. I don't know whether Mr. Mack would like to say something here. Mr. Mack? Actually, every year, Mr. Kenneth Mack, Director General of Trade and Industry, we in fact talk to the relevant units on the mainland about liberalization measures under CEPA. We would reflect those to the mainland authorities every year. But of course, it also depends on how the mainland authorities consider these issues. We'll continue to secure more opportunities. As for films, under CEPA 10, the Supplementary Agreement 10, we have already secured further liberalization. Understand the Hong Kong movie industry is trying to do this, and recently we have been talking to the relevant ministries and commissions on the mainland to quicken the process. In other words, Hong Kong films can be exported and vetted in a quicker process so that in fact there could be parallel distribution of films between Hong Kong and the mainland, but there is still some barrier. Mr. Tam, can I ask Mr. Zheng, the Permanent Secretary, to respond? It was asked whether our ETOs on the mainland can also take on a cultural aspect. Ms. Chang King Yu. I think I explained many times here that our mainland ETOs are in fact already promoting Hong Kong's culture. For example, at the Guangdong ETO, there has been a Hong Kong Film Week, and all those films have been shown using the original Cantonese soundtrack. And at another place, we have also mounted an arts fair. So, in fact, every ETO would organize activities by themselves and sometimes together with Hong Kong arts groups and also local groups. Just now you mentioned the Hong Kong ETCO in Taiwan. I think that is a little different because when we have reciprocal officers with Taiwan, we have to work on that basis of reciprocity. But actually, if you look at the mainland, we call these ETOs, and if you want to add culture to them, and as I explained, we have heard that if you can add culture, you can add many other things. People may also want to add sports, and they may say that we should have a very much diversified and pluralistic office. But let us give that more consideration. It is not such a simple matter as just calling it with the right name, because it will allow these officers to take on more work on many aspects, and it may affect their efficiency. But if we can do it, then certainly we'll come back to members. Mr. Martin Liao, we have talked to the CE and we agree that allowing Hong Kong to go forward, we should walk with both legs, meaning the economy and livelihood. And in this PA, we can see that the livelihood leg is very dynamic, but the economic leg is limping. It means, or it seems, that we are jumping on one leg. And how long can that go on for? In the PA, there is very little coverage on new thinking. We can see abstract mention of seminars, discussions, study, consultation, hopefully initial proposals, working groups, review, etc. These are the words we see popping up from the policy address. But if you look at other places around Hong Kong, say in Shanghai City, on Monday, the government work report has been released. And if you look at Hong Kong's economic report, the more we look at it, the more fearful we become. We are talking about spending money. I don't know when our coffers will be depleted, but we don't have time. We have to support the CE in its livelihood proposals. That needs to be sustainable, and it can go against economic development. Or else we have to resort to tax increases, expanding the tax base, etc. That will deal another blow to the economy. This is not something we want to see. Secretary, you are the SCED. You have a heavy duty on your shoulders. And I really hope that next year in the PA, you can say more on economic development and bring some happy surprise to the Hong Kong people. Through you, I'd like to ask two questions. I originally wanted to ask about the economic development prospect, but this may not be a fair question for the SCED. I should leave it for the CE. So my questions now are, if the CE says, even if something is not mentioned in the PA, doesn't mean he will not do it. If there are some proposals by the EDC by the middle of the year, will the administration implement those proposals? If yes, how? And two, in para 4, you say that you will consider setting up a Hong Kong ETC in Asia. I'd like to ask the Bureau, will there be key performance indicators for such offices in order to assess the effectiveness of these offices? When they are to be set up, you certainly have to come for funding support from the Finance Committee. We will be very pragmatic. We will see whether the money to be spent will really yield results, or else these are, again, abstract measures only. So SCED, can you let us know whether there will be KPIs for us to gauge the effectiveness of the offices? Mr. So? Thank you, Mr. Liao, for your questions. In the PA, the entire Chapter 2 is on economic development from para 10 to para 45. We have charted the main directions for economic development, etc. And as I said in my opening remarks, the EDC is now studying into the different topics and issues, and that takes time. When we receive the concrete proposals, we'll then take them forward. So we'll have to do this step by step. Mr. Liao also mentioned the increase of ETOs. He'd like to know the work indicators of the ETOs to allow the public to have a deeper understanding of the work of our ETOs. In the budget every year, we will try our best to quantify the work of the ETOs, including the scope of work, and a lot of its work is to conduct meetings between our government and the business communities in the places where they are. There is enumeration of the number of talks, interviews, briefings, as well as press releases issued. All these can be seen from the reports of those ETOs annually. And also, every 2 months, the ETOs would submit work reports, and these are actually forwarded to electrical members for perusal. Therefore, we have always tried to enhance the transparency of ETOs, and together with members and the business community, we should work together in order to promote Hong Kong's image overseas. Thank you. Ms. Anne Chiang, the Deputy Chairman. Thank you, Chairman. Mr. So, the PA has been released, and my first impression of it is it is going to be tough for you, Mr. So. Why? Because we know that people say we are going to spend 100 million or 200 million. That will be the extra recurrent expenditure on livelihood. And some people say that the financial secretary is almost crying because we are spending money that has not even come in on welfare. And of course, you have to think about economic growth. But how is it going to grow? I don't know whether you have reviewed your work.
本地生產即係個總值裏邊。
In the past, how much have you devoted to industrial development and by a percentage of the GDP? That is important because in the future there will be more expenditure.
係維持不變，咁個話。
Now, for the basic law stipulation 107, how are we to enhance our livelihood? The population is increasing, on the other hand. So I very much like to see, well, let me put it this way, Mr. So. I'm very sure that you have done a lot of things in the past 1 year, but all that year, all the work had been very trivial, and you have not focused on one single important item. Well, actually, I always say if Hong Kong can be successful in one industry, two industries, if we make them really big and powerful, that would be sufficient. Can we not focus our resources onto one or two major industries in Hong Kong, so that these industries can become what the center and the pinnacles in Asia? Well, later today, I will be bringing up a motion. Hopefully you will consider it, and that is for the beauty industry in Hong Kong, that it developed into an industry in Hong Kong. Perhaps not a major industry, but for the young people in Hong Kong, for upward mobility and for employment of the grassroots, it will present opportunities. I will not go into the specifics here. On the other hand, I very much admire your proposal on IP protection. Yes, I've attended a 1-hour talk that you've given. But there is one point which is lacking. Next time you introduce this topic, can you also include, that is for IP industry, how would it help in terms of the GDP of Hong Kong? In your forecast, in the early stages of its implementation, what would be the contribution and what is the long-term contribution to Hong Kong economic development? There are so many talents in your bureau. Look at the gentleman next to you, smiling so sweetly. He is definitely a talent. Can you please utilize their talents? This morning I heard Mr. Fred Lam, the former Executive Council member who went on a talk show this morning, Franklin Lam, and it seems that the government officers are not very anxious, but the members, the electoral members and others are more anxious than you are. Well, actually push ahead, push the administration forward in speeding up the work. Come up with certain timetables. You don't need to respond to that. Miss Emily Lau, please. Yes, Mr. Chair, Mr. Liu's points of concern, I echo them. Indeed, when the PA was announced, there were sectors of the community which showed concern in terms of these sectors and their developments. Yes, indeed, a lot of work has been done, but we have more work to do. Now, one area that we are in support of is the Innovation and Technology Bureau. Now, we have talked about a visit to Israel, but we have talked about this time and again. And Mr. Wong just now talked about personnel hiring. Well, every time Ms. Janet Wong comes to the LegCo, we give her the go-ahead. But I would say, yes, we do favor her in a manner of speaking. We're giving her all the support, but she's not shown any achievements. Yes, there are those who criticize the policies in the LegCo, but we have been giving her every support in every way, but we have not seen a lot of achievements, because if I look at the paper, there is a review of the fund, that is Innovation Fund, in its 15th year of existence. The Science Park also has to be reviewed after its 10th anniversary, and the Industrial Park, and there has to be further discussions as to its future development. 15 years and 15 years and 15 years. How many 15 years do we have more? I do not understand. With so many people, so many talents here, why can't you map out a route for Hong Kong? Yes, Mr. So, thank you very much for Ms. Lau's question. Yes, definitely, we are all concerned about the sustained economic development of Hong Kong, and that's why in the PA we have mentioned a number of areas. There was a view just now as to 1 to 2 industries. No, answer my question. Over 10 years or 20 years of resources allocation into innovation, why has it come to naught? Yes. Mr. Wong my colleague will be talking about that. But overall economic development, yes, we have had our pillar industries, and we will continue to develop these pillar industries. And there are some new industries which we'll be paying attention to. For instance, in terms of IP trade, these are our strengths, and we will continue to develop them and put resources into them. And if we have the opportunity, we would want to, or in other venues, talk to LegCo members about the details of our support in these major areas. Ms. Wong, then. Thank you very much for the question. Thank you, Chair. Concerning the review, we are not saying that we have not had any achievements. Let's say the Science Park, in its existence in the past 10 years, actually, it came from an area of reclaimed land, and now it has over 2,000 companies and 918 jobs. And in 2016, there will be another 150 companies with 4,000 jobs created. In fact, the Science Park was only built 10 years ago, and these are the achievements. Now, as for scientific research, its impact on the overall GDP perhaps is small, but if we're talking about scientific research and development, in fact, there had been growth. In 2012, there was $14.8 billion, which was 6.3% higher than the previous year. And thank you very much for the LegCo's support in terms of our science and innovation. And on Friday, we'll be coming to the Finance Committee. And in the past 3 years, we have not been contented with just a report, but rather in the government departments, in the government agencies and institutions, and in going to the industrial sector, we have discussed and we have had certain success. We would want to do the work step by step, and we would want to be able to achieve any progressions step by step. Yes, Mr. Lam. Mr. Chair, in the second PA of the CE, there is this mention of the new Innovation and Technology Bureau. As Mr. Ma Fung Kwok had pointed out, there are no real targets set out. And Mr. Lowe's question as for specific timetable did not receive a realistic reply. Yes, I think this is a very important area. We have no questions for that. But without a timetable and without the specifics, if we say that we're in full support of that, I think it's problematic. The government has no transparency, and they are only following orders. This is not the performance of responsible officials. I think we really should, the lecture members included, should discuss this in detail so that we do not encourage that kind of lack of transparency. And they say they have studied the topics and they come up with the proposals. That is just not acceptable. Now, innovation and is very important in the economy. Now, the officials, we have heard them singing their own praises. They say that they've done a lot of things. But really, what is the Hong Kong SAR government focused on? It's about political restructuring and reform. And is this the right time to introduce these efforts? I do not know. I think we have to sit down and think through that. Well, actually, for many of the secretaries, their public acceptance is very low, and they have not been performing. And every time, Ms. Carrie Lam had to come out to save the day. And for these new policies that have not been well thought out, for them to be introduced, is that a good thing? And this is another one such effort. Carrie Lam is very capable, but on the other hand, she has limited time and energy. She cannot come out and explain and come up with excuses each and every time. Yes, she is the most capable among the secretaries, but she can't do everything. So is this really the time to introduce the new bureau? Unless you say that the existing innovation and Technology Commission is not doing its work, and we are therefore in a hurry, but that may not be the case, as we have heard just now. I think timing is important in order to have the full support of the people. Let us not rush to support. Let us not be overly generous. Of course, we support science and technology and innovation, but then we should think it through. Yes, I'm using up my speaking time here. Well, I just want to ask a question, Mr. So. In the formulation of this PA, have you and the CE talked about the industrial development of Hong Kong, whether it be traditional or innovative industries or labor-intensive industries or high value-added innovative technologies? Have you been talking to him, and has the CE been unmoved? Well, first of all, concerning the Innovation and Technology Bureau, its target and the timetable. The objective, as I have mentioned, is about innovation and technology. We would want to leave it more space to develop and also to help the industries and the sectors concerned. As for timetable, we would try our best to, within this legislative year, to map out the work of this new commission and bureau and come to the LegCo. And you would remember in the last round of reform and restructuring, there were certain difficulties met at the LegCo. Indeed, we have to work together hand in hand. If you believe that this is the right way forward, then I urge members of the LegCo to give it the full support in the panel and also in the LegCo general session. Well, just to respond on Mr. Lim Kin Fung's question, yes, we have very close liaison with the industrial sector in Hong Kong. We all believe that Hong Kong has come to another level of development in its industry, including brand development and promoting the domestic market in mainland, elevating the level of development of the industries, coming up with new standards of controls, and also in the manufacturing process, how do we inject more design and scientific innovation into it. All these are important areas which the PA this round had addressed in terms of its broad stroke objectives and the initiatives, and we would want to work together with the members on this. Mr. No Wing Hung? Yes, Mr. Chair, I have a couple of questions which were not touched on before. Mr. Tam, in your paper, you talked about the cooperation with the Taiwanese government. As you know, the chair of the Legal Law Society in Hong Kong had talked about the recognition of qualification of lawyers in Taiwan. And there had been requests for the Taiwan government to do something in terms of recognition of Hong Kong legal qualifications. Will you be able to follow up on that? A second question for Mr. So. The chief executive, as you know, had talked about the development of Hong Kong as an arbitration center. But apart from setting up a committee, a working committee, what we need is actually resources so that the Hong Kong International Arbitration Center can promote its work overseas and also to raise its status as an arbitration center. Yes, all very good to establish a consultative committee, but we need resources. I have said that actually quite a few times. I would like to see some specific response from Mr. So.
I'll take up the second question first on arbitration. This actually belongs to the jurisdiction of the Department of Justice. In terms of arbitration center and promoting Hong Kong, well, our departments do promote Hong Kong's international status as an arbitration center, and we work together with the DOJ to do that. However, when I talked to the DOJ, it passed the buck to you, to your bureau. It was said that you did not put in the resources, so the DOJ could do nothing. I don't think so. I don't think that's the situation. I have not heard about anything like that. I have not heard such complaints. We have a very good cooperation with DOJ. I hope you will give all your support to the DOJ in this aspect of their work and give them the resources. My first question, is it for Mr. Tam or Mr. Kenneth Mack? Mr. Mack? Yes, Chairman. Sorry, Mr. Kwok was asking about the resource support for promoting Hong Kong as an arbitration center. I'd like to provide some information because the Trade and Industry Development is responsible for implementing the BUD Fund, which is a dedicated fund for branding, upgrading, and domestic sales for Hong Kong on the mainland. And we have just wired some funding for arbitration, and that is to promote Hong Kong as an arbitration center on the mainland. We have just approved about a 4 million fund for that purpose. Thank you very much, Mr. Tam. A short response on progress. The DOJ and the counterpart in Taiwan are working on this. The ECCPC and also the THEC are following up through their secretariats. If we have further progress, we'll certainly report to you, but we are working on it. Good. Next, Mr. Charles Smock, he's out of the room. I myself have a question in the first round. Secretary, we should do more about Hong Kong branding. On the mainland, fake goods have been manufactured, and therefore mainlanders have more confidence in Hong Kong products. I think the manufacturing industry is now very different from that of the 70s and 80s. This is because mainlanders have much more confidence in Hong Kong products. So if something is made in Hong Kong, it means so much more. However, if you are talking about revitalizing the industrial buildings, last time when the CE was here, he said that in fact, the industrial buildings are not left vacant at all. There is a high utilization rate of our industrial buildings. If that's the case, will you plan for more science parks and industrial estates? We were involved in export business and we were exporting to Europe and the US, but now it's different. We would like to sell our products on the mainland, which is a vast market with 1.3 billion people. Can the administration do something to help us create opportunities for Hong Kong products, and especially Chinese medicine, if it is manufactured in Hong Kong, is very much welcome? Thank you, Chairman. I agree that in this environment, we can see that Hong Kong brands have won a lot of confidence. Land is a precious resource in Hong Kong, and we are now doing some assessment. You mentioned the industrial estates. We are looking into that. Could I now defer to Ms. Ho to say something? Yes, Chairman. In terms of industrial estates, we are working in two directions. One, on existing industrial estate land, the Science Park Corporation is now trying to see how we can enhance land use efficiency. And if tenancies have expired, or if there is not the active occupation of land, we may use a land exchange or land sales in order to enhance land use efficiency. On the other hand, the industrial estates are quite fully occupied, but in Wangzhou, in Yunlong, we are trying to see whether we can find land for expansion of industrial estates. The initial assessment has just been completed and we are studying it. And also about the science park, if it is for science and development and also innovation and technology industries, there is still space for expansion of such. And then in the PA, it is mentioned that overall speaking, the Development Bureau is looking into industrial land in Hong Kong. And we will have to see how demand and supply is like, and the study is being undertaken. Could I please supply some information? Actually, starting from 2007, we have been talking about revitalizing the industrial estates because there is not such a big demand for certain manufacturing industries. And in fact, 28 sites have been revitalized. And we are talking about 29 hectares of land. In other words, we have got smooth progress, and in fact, we are making the best use of our resources. But then after revitalization, there will be no manufacturing space, and in the end, we will need more industrial estates. There will remain industrial estates, but if the industries are not active anymore, they have already moved out, and we have revitalized the industrial estates by introducing new industries. Second round, Ms. Anne Chiang, Deputy Chairman. Thank you, Chairman. Mr. So, I'm not trying to be critical, but Hong Kong's industrial development is important. We cannot wait anymore to do a lot to promote Hong Kong's economic development. And it's not just the present. You should have got yourself prepared in the 80s. But at that time, we have not been unified with our motherland. So it was very difficult to do something. And at that time, the British colonial government was preparing for handing over Hong Kong. And after the reunification, there were a lot of political issues. So economic development was not effective. But now, we can see that the current term government would really like to do something. Now, if that's the case, even if I will be critical, as you know, you and I are good friends, I do not bear any grudges with you. But when it comes to a working relationship, I will be blunt. There are 11 bureaus. Each and every bureau is spending money. But then you are the only one with the responsibility of promoting Hong Kong's industries. And it is not a bad thing for us to have a new Innovation and Technology Bureau, but how can the Bureau be given fast-track development? How can we commercialize our research products? For example, last time I was at the Science Park. I think many of the staff working there are well prepared. They are just waiting for the administration to create opportunities for them. And Secretary, I will leave some time for you to respond this time. Tourism. Do you know that yesterday or the day before yesterday you said by 2017 there will be 70 million people and by 2023 there will be 100 million. So many Hong Kong people have cried foul of that kind of tourist numbers. They were afraid of our capacity to play host. And everywhere is crowded. I have been to Newtown Plaza recently on a Sunday. There was no shopping experience. People were queuing up to push and shove one another. It was worse than Mongkok. Yesterday, I listened to the radio, and a lady was even more direct in painting the situation. You said you would study into how we can enhance our hospitality, but in 2004 we already wrote you a report. It was Donald Tsang at that time to develop the border area. You should build a factory outlet there. That was in 2004. We mapped out even the streets. And so you can build an international gourmet center and a shopping outlet. Then people will be able to buy all the brand fashion and don the brand fashion when they go back to the mainland. So they are happy and Hong Kong people can make money. And there will be jobs. But no one paid attention. This is something so simple. Let us not talk about industries. Many people have talked about industries. But I have spent so much money, so much time, and I can tell you this, Greg So. I can tell you that there is prospect for manufacturing industries. I am here at LegCo, but it's your tough luck. You have to face me today. I don't have grudges against you personally. But sorry, I have no time for him to respond. Can you allow Mr. So to give a short response? Yes, please be brief. I thank Ms. Anne Chang for her questions. We are in a very good relationship. We have no grudges against each other. Industrial development is very important because a lot of the discussion today has also talked about the present of industrial development. We have 4 pillar industries, and you can see that at the EDC, we are working even harder on these. For example, professional services, etc. 93% of our GDP comes from the service sector, so the service sector is also important. Just now we were talking about manufacturing industries, and I was talking about creative and innovative industries. Now, how can we consolidate those? And in terms of industries where we have an edge, as Ms. Anne Chang was talking about trading in IP, we do have an advantage there. Mr. Chung Kwok Pan also understands very well that Hong Kong's design industry, including our fashion industry, is famous all over the world. We have an edge there. We are making parallel development. We should not belittle ourselves. We have great advantages in these areas, and together with the sector, we are working very hard. And when I talked to the sector, everybody was very much enthused. And so we should work together and join our efforts together. Let us not belittle ourselves so we can speak with a bigger voice to the international community. I therefore also put a lot of store by industrial development. As the CE said, if we can grow our economy, I'm sure we will inject impetus into livelihood issues. Next, Mr. Chung Kwok Pan. Thank you, Chairman. I thank the Secretary for mentioning the fashion industry, and he says it can be developed. But the thing is, we cannot feel the support of the government. So I hope that the SALG can really study into what kind of support can be given. And in fact, a number of members have said that we should allow our industrial plants to come back to Hong Kong. So your bureau should help the return of industries. And I'm not talking about traditional industries as such. Next, I'd like to talk about intellectual property. The SALG would like Hong Kong to become a trading center for IP rights. What is your plan? Will the SALG select certain industries or sectors for pilot and early implementation? Or is it for proposals to be made by the industry or sector to say that they should go first? If it is up to us, how will the SALG help us so that Hong Kong can really make the first step to trade in IP rights?
Thank you, Mr. Cheung, for the opinion concerning the design industry. In fact, in the innovation office for Hong Kong, we have also, in the area of technology for design and garment, we are working together with the industry to develop these. And for Mr. Cheung, if there are certain recommendations and suggestions, we would welcome them. And this is exactly one example where we see that the government and the industries are working together so as to promote the further development of the entire sector. Now, as for IP trade, what are some of the major priorities? If I can discuss in broad strokes, there are three areas. One, in terms of branding IP trade, in terms of authorization or franchising and the methods of franchising, and also in innovation and technology. We have spoken at length about this area. Also, IP trade can also feed into this. There is a lot of application and usage and contribution in Hong Kong. And the third is design, advertising, broadcasting, film. These also pertain to IP trade. Yes, indeed, design has also a big part to play in IP trade. In the coming year, we are coming up with the infrastructure. Of course, for design IP, it is a very important sector within the entire design. Yes, Mr. Hon CHIANG. Yes, Mr. So just now talked about utilizing our main advantages. Yes, we have the advantages and the edges, but we are not leveraging them to the fullest. During the SARS time, the central government opened up the CEPA and also the individual visits to Hong Kong. I mean, as a businessman, how can we say that given the very good business, we want to close the doors and drive away the customers? Never. We would want to expand the business in view of this huge demand. We should think of development rather and expansion. So please let the secretary and his team not study this, study that, but do it as quickly as possible. Take action. Now, I would like to raise the point. We have to be practical. For Lok Ma Chau South, there are some privately owned land. What are the privately owned land plots? And this has to do with, well, perhaps something outside of your bureau. Perhaps it is for lands and development. I do not know. But what is to be done? Are the farmland plots to be rezoned into commercial use, or there should be some short-term measures such as outlet, retail, to be established in these areas. All it takes is 1 to 2 years. Really, we must not drive away such businesses. I mean, if the times were not on our side, if this kind of business flow to the Southeast Asia, for instance, Yunnan, Guangxi, and Myanmar, the brand names can easily establish outlets in these places. And if that is the case, it will be too late for us, Hong Kong. So, Mr. So, I urge you to really take immediate action and pay full attention onto this. Please feel our anxiety. You are a civil servant. I mean, you should serve our welfare. And Mr. Tam, I heard that you will be establishing these liaison officers in the mainland. That is a good thing. Apart from the Guangdong office, where we have immigration personnel, immigration department personnel. As for the other regions, central, western, eastern, and northern regions, for these liaison office, will you also have the same arrangement? Will it be necessary? To my mind, the visitors and the Hong Kong businessmen, I think they will need certain assistance from these officers. Mr. Chair, I agree. In developing our tourism, and especially in how we can sustain the impact of the tourists coming to Hong Kong. Yes, as Mr. Wong said, we keep an open mind. And as Mr. Wong said, this is the work of the Development Bureau. We will be working together with the Development Bureau to see how we can put all these suggestions into thoughts into practice. Tourism is very important to Hong Kong, and it directly benefits 230,000 employment opportunities. And yes, there are a lot of inconveniences brought to the people of Hong Kong. And I also would want to take this opportunity to respond to Ms. Chang and her question asked just now. Tourism bringing on inconvenience to the livelihood of Hong Kong people, that is almost inevitable. But we have to balance that with the 230,000 jobs and the 4.5% contribution to our GDP. We have to be very careful to balance those. Mr. Tam, please. In the past, in Guangzhou and Beijing, we have each a team of immigration personnel, and in October of last year in Chengdu, we have also put in a team of immigration personnel to help and assist Hong Kong people, Hong Kong businessmen who have met with problems in the mainland, to provide timely assistance and service to them. And in Shanghai and also coming in Wuhan, the ETOs, whether we need to station immigration personnel there. We will look into this possibility. And where needs be, we will be creating the positions there. In the north and Guangzhou and in Chengdu, right now, the immigration teams there are able to meet the demand so far. But where necessary, we will be adding teams to the other offices. Well, I see two DAB members urging Mr. So. Well, of course, they are anxious, and Mr. So was the vice chairman of the DAB before. In fact, the entire Hong Kong population would want to see the government being able to have certain achievements. I think you should, Mr. So, follow the example of Carrie Lam and Mr. Tam, and that is where there are issues, be able to talk to the LegCo. I can tell you, I've sat down with the businessmen, and they are very angry with the civil servants. And one of the reasons why they're angry with the government and the civil servants was because the civil servants have been afraid. They've been afraid that they would be accused of collusion with the businesses. And therefore, they're not very clear as to what the businessmen's or the businesses' demands are and their expectations. Now, in fact, if you can listen to them and come to the LegCo with their expectations and the meeting of the expectations, you'll get more support. You have to see where and which area should be in which you should sort or for which you should seek support. But today here, you're giving us all kinds of excuses. No land resources, no this, no that. It seems that we have to wait another 10 years. That's why even your party, your former party, is so worried. Not worried for you, but worried for the future of Hong Kong. So I would urge all the secretaries to talk to the people and come to the LegCo. If they are reasonable proposals, we would approve, we will support it. Why are we all sitting here saying that not enough has been done? The Democratic Party would very much want Hong Kong to be successful economically, to have a very good investment environment, to attract more investment into Hong Kong, provide more employment so that Hong Kong can advance economically. But it seems that everyone here today in the LegCo are unhappy that you have done too little. So would you please go back and think about it and put in more efforts? Well, Mr. Chair, you know that we have been in close liaison and discussions with the sectors. We have not been working in a black box or detached at all. And in this sense, I do not agree with Ms. Lau. You know that the government had been talking with all the stakeholders, and even in the design industry, in innovation and in technology, etc. We have been very proactive in promoting the different sectors, and also we have been working closely with the industries in our work. But of course, Ms. Lau may think that we have not been discussing closely with Ms. Lau herself. In the future, we will do so, and in formulating our policies, we will be doing so as well. Perhaps Ms. Lau thinks that that's not sufficient. In the future, I will do so more proactively. As for the other parties, political parties, we have contacted them and liaised with them in the past. We will continue to do that work. Thank you. The two secretaries, I think we are in support of the PA in terms of helping the grassroots. We have no problems with that. But with all that benefits and welfare meted out, what about our economy? Can we make the money? Can we have the money so that we can have these benefits and welfare, make them sustainable? So to the two secretaries, I urge you to make more money for Hong Kong so that we can have the benefits and welfare for the grassroots and the prosperity for Hong Kong. Yes, we have now a motion from Ms. Chiang. There is a letter, as we have mentioned, and it is saying that the government is urged to promote the beauty industry and the industrialization of the beauty profession. Ms. Chiang, please. Over to you. Yes, Mr. Chair. In fact, the beauty industry in Hong Kong is doing very well. According to September 2013 data, there are some 50,000 persons working in this industry, including the related sectors and companies. There would be even more. But if you look at the beauty industry in Hong Kong, they are basically small operations, small beauty shops with 2 to 3 employees. That's basically it. But in fact, the beauty industry, because of the aging population around the world, beauty industry, especially with technological innovation, had been advancing. And if at this point we continue to allow the beauty industry to operate in a low and grassroots kind of level, it would be a waste. And it would be wasting of the very good foundation that the beauty industry had built in the past. Now, think about it. The government would want to be able to have more employment in the grassroots level and have them feel or be able to experience the upward mobility. As you know, a lot of the beauty industry professionals are women. And since the beauty industry qualification system, these women in the industry have been very enthusiastic in enrolling, but they very much want to advance their skills and their abilities. And if you look at overseas examples, such as in Taiwan, many universities are offering beauty education, and they go into the beauty industry in terms of its development in the business sense, and they've been successful. As Mr. Tung Chi-hua, the former CE, had said, perhaps Hong Kong can be developed into a spa center, but that had not been successful. But rather, Singapore had been able to do its planning for the beauty industry and set up the Spa Association, and it's very successful, so that Singapore has become a spa resort center for the entire Asia. So there are a lot of areas where we have not provided the planning and overall vision for developing certain industries. I'm sorry, because of time, Ms. Chiang, perhaps we should extend this meeting for another 15 minutes?
I'm almost done. I don't know whether other members would like to speak. Please go on. I think it is essential for us to study into the development of this industry. Just now, we were shown that the EDC had looked into many aspects, but there is no mention of the beauty industry. In fact, it has a vast potential for development. It is worth our effort to study into it. And as you know, by 2017, we will have 70 million visitors, and by 2023, 100 million. Many people are coming into Hong Kong. We, in fact, can become the Asian beauty hub. I hope this panel can support my motion. And my motion reads that this panel urge the SALG set up a beauty industry development committee to promote the development of the beauty industry. There is just one sentence in my motion. I urge members to support me. Other members? Mr. Chung Kwok Pan. Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to thank Ms. Anne Chang for mentioning this. In fact, over a year ago, I had asked the panel to look into our garment or fashion industry. I don't know when we can do this. As for the development of any industry, apart from financial and property industries, we should look into every industry in Hong Kong. We should not be too focused, but I support the motion. Any other members? Ms. Emily Lau. Chairman, I agree with Mr. Chung. I have not looked into the issue. I don't know whether our secretariat has done any studies. So I think the first thing is to let us get a grasp of the situation before we talk about promoting it. I think the SLG has not done any studies either. But if you just say we support the study into the development of the industry, then I have no disagreement. Ms. Deputy Secretary, you talk about the beauty industry, and I actually have been concerned about the development of this industry for many years, so I do support you. So we will forward the motion to the administration for a response. We will allow it to get prepared, and then we can take it up at the meeting. Hopefully, the administration will supply us with information. Let us do it ASAP. Let us try to do it within the session. And what about this motion, Chairman? Members, do you support the motion? Is it carried? Those who are in support, hands up. I think it is unanimous. Okay? Yes? The clerk, please follow up. AOB, there is nothing under AOB. The meeting is adjourned here.